Um, can you guys hear me? I just want to welcome everyone to today's stream, and I mean, it's another episode of me trying to teach JavaScript, and yeah, mine and has been your week. If anybody has joined yet, it has been your week. Mine has been super. I think it was super stressful. I think super stressful. I started week with like a very serious bug, and I'm ending the week with production release. So it's been like very crazy for me. But then I have to show up and teach JavaScript on this stream. So here am I today. I'm excited to go through like the basics of JavaScript for as many persons who are interested. I know that some persons might be like you are maybe like you're an experienced person already with JS. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can also like chime in, tell me some things I can do better. So, but I mean, in the end, it's about making sure people learn, people get to learn as much as possible, and yeah, we all can be better JavaScript engineers on the long run, and that's the goal of this stream. And tomorrow, I will also be streaming about React JS, I think. Yeah, I should be streaming about React JS. I think we covered some basics last week. So I'm going to be moving forward and we should be maybe like getting into deeper stuff this Saturday, talking about like components and some CSS and some other states and some other interesting things in React. So yeah, that being said, I want to welcome everybody to this today's stream. If you're just joining from wherever you're joining, whether from from Africa, whether from Nigeria, whether from any part of the world, thank you for joining. And I like to just get started. Stanley, good to see you. I mean, you are the number one supporter from day one, right? Thank you for joining, Stanley. I really appreciate, even though I know you know many of these things. So I sort of appreciate. Yeah, I have a Discord channel that I'm planning. I don't know whether I should release it yet. I have the Discord. I've had the Discord channel for a while now. But if you guys think I should bring us together, I think people have been talking about community, bringing everybody together. Priska, good to see you as well. Thank you so much for joining. If you want us to have the community thing, if you want me to like have a Discord channel where we can always like talk and you can always have more access to me one on one right there. I mean, you can always let me know in the chat. I think I don't know. I don't want to add too much of pressure and I don't want to add too much of responsibility for myself as well. So, but again, if you think there's a need for us to have like a Discord where we can talk more and we can always work together more. I mean, just let me know in the comment section. And for those who don't know Discord, you can check. I think Discord dot is it .com or .org now. Discord is like just like an equivalent for Slack, right? But it allows you so much more freedom. By the way, so but the goal again is if we have a Discord, what is the goal? The goal is still to help everybody get better, whether you are a web developer, a front end, a back end, the goal is to just help you as much as possible. Abdul Qadri, good to see you as well. Thank you for the support. Thank you so much for the support. Yeah, but again, I don't want to have too many stress for many persons, so that's why I don't want to release the Discord channel for now. The persons that are on my Discord channel are just, I think for now, are just people that I'm mentoring directly one on one, and I've not mentored like a lot of persons in a while now. I just tried to. I don't want to stress myself. I have a lot going personally. But if you think the Discord thing is good and you're interested, just let me know in the comments. And yes, we can make something happen. We can always make something happen. So today, I think if you check the description of the video today, I want to talk more last so I said I was going to be, teaching JavaScript.info for real, right? From the beginning to the end. That's like my goal for my Friday streams. For all of the Friday streams I'm going to be doing, the goal is to teach JavaScript.info from the A right down to the Z of JavaScript.info. Everything, every topic on JavaScript.info, I'll take my time to teach it. So we are currently on the first part, which is what we are focusing on JavaScript language in itself, and we're trying to understand the JavaScript fundamental. In the last episode, right, I talked more about what did I talk more about in the last episode? The last episode was about the powers of JavaScript. How many persons remember? I was talking about like the different APIs that we have. I was talking about using JavaScript in the browser. And even before I joined this call, I found out another beautiful thing about JavaScript. Look at, we keep learning every day. And I'm super stoked that JavaScript is just there. So I found out that I can start using some AI models inside of my browser without writing Python. And everything has to be in JavaScript, even vanilla JavaScript. And I'm going to be really dropping some examples, I think by tomorrow. I'm working on an example by tomorrow. I think I saw one where they were using AI to do some object recognition just using pure JavaScript. And I think like this is the AI era, right? This is the AI era where, I mean, if you're not writing or doing anything with AI, you're probably not an engineer. So, but finding out the package that gives us that capacity is something called Transformer JS. If you search for Transformer JS, you will see that Transformer JS. I mean, Transformer JS allows us to bring in different AI models right down into your browser, and everything works super super well. And I'm just really amazed at that beautiful power of a JavaScript engineer. Last episode, I talked about all the web APIs. Most of the web APIs that you have power of using as a JavaScript engineer. And I mean, if you missed that episode, you can always check my YouTube channel where you will see like the last stream where I also talked a little bit about the developer console. I talked about the browser, and I talked about the group that manages JavaScript, which is the ECMA script committee, the TC39 team. And I wasn't sure whether I did some introduction in the beginning. I think I did some coding. I can't remember what I did exactly there, but I did some coding around generators. I think I did some coding around generators. For those who don't know generator is just the function in JavaScript that has a star, right? So just like the way you do your normal function declaration, generator is just a function that has an asterisk. That's what I'm calling a star now, an asterisk sign, right? And it uses the keyword yield. So what we are used to, if you are a basic JavaScript engineer, is that you are used to a function having async and await. You're used to functions having what else? Return keyword, right? Those are the things you're used to. But there's another kind of function in JavaScript that we refer to as generators. And what they do is that you have a star or an asterisk sign added to the name of the function, and it uses the word yield. And what it returns is you use that to create an iterator, something that is iterable. And when you have an iterator or an iterable, that is something that inherits from symbol. There is a symbol in JavaScript called symbol at iterator, double at iterator. And that's the reason why you can loop through something. That is the reason why you can do some amazing things with loop, because of that symbol. So a generator generates that particular thing. It's what we use to create it. And you can always pass the result of your generator to a array.from async to generate an array. I mean, it's just beautiful stuff that I was just trying to show you like JavaScript is powerful. Again, I am just here to really shout and evangelize about JavaScript. Anybody who knows me knows that that's what I do for a living, to talk about the amazing things. So I encourage people to learn it from the basics, and I also encourage people to build amazing tools from your knowledge of JavaScript. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen today. I want to talk about JavaScript fundamentals. That is the basic stuff, right? Writing your first hello word, right? Talking about a code structure, talking about something we call use strict, which is not too common again in our own time here. Then we have variables, different data types. I'm also going to be talking about interaction in your browser, because interaction is majorly in your browser, and I think Dino supports some level of interactions. I'm also going to be talking about types, conversion, and the type of keyword. And I'm going to be talking about basic mathematical operators, and we'll talk about comparison. So again, if you want to follow me, just open to javascript.info, and you can always go to the chapter on JavaScript fundamental. I want to take the first 9 chapters. Is this chapters there? Then the first 9, maybe like sub chapters on that JavaScript fundamentals. If you have anything you want me to talk about, you want me to discuss about, you can always mention them, and I will be willing to tell you more about them. And if you're just joining for the first time, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, where all I do is I talk about the web and I talk about JavaScript. So if you want to hear more about JavaScript and the web, you can always subscribe. I am streaming on YouTube, Twitter, and I think Twitch. So those are the 3 channels that I'm streaming currently. I don't know whether I should stream to LinkedIn. I don't know whether I have any audience on LinkedIn yet, but the goal is to help anybody who wants to learn JavaScript, most especially learn it in a solid way where you can build a good career around JavaScript. And that is my goal. So I'm going to be supporting you to build a career in with JavaScript. Like, if you JavaScript will be like the first language that you're going to really understand, and be proud to say, man, I really understand JavaScript and I can build anything I really want to build with JavaScript. And that is the goal of this stream today. So without any further, any further thing, I'm going to just jump right into what I'm going to be teaching today. You can always use the comments to, to alert me if you're not hearing me well, or if my voice is breaking, or if there is any internet issue. I'm going to be responding in the comment section right there. And between, I hope everybody is, I hope you guys are doing fine. Personally, I hope you're healthy. Yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. It's Friday, you should be going to parties or clubs or to cool off, right? Yeah. If you are that kind of person, and if you're not the kind of person, you should be maybe sitting down to watch movie or to do something different from like work that you've been doing all day long. And if you're somebody like me that likes to work too much, you can be here now, right? We're streaming and talking about JS. Okay. All right. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to be really using Coca. Again, there's a tool that I use. I use Coca JS for all of the stuffs that I am going to be teaching. However, I'm also going to be showing you how to run all these things in a browser as well. So, what is Coca? If you want to know more about Coca, I think Coca. I recently was asking the Z team, do they have any integration plan for for Z? I don't know if you know what Z is. Z is another IDE. So I think they reached out back and they don't have any integration yet for Coca.js. So if you want to know about Coca.js, this is Coca, right? It's just a script pad for scripting JavaScript, and it uses Node.js behind the scene. So before you can use this, you need Node installed on your computer. Once you have Node installed on your computer, then you can come here and click on the exact ID that you're using, right? And then it should tell you how to set it up for your particular IDE. All right. So again, thank you for joining the stream. If you're joining from wherever you're joining, I really appreciate you. And I'm just going to be opening up a blank VS Code interface. So currently I use like the VS Code interface, VS Code for most of the coding that I'm going to be doing. And yes, I'm also going to be opening up the browser at times to show you some things in the browser. But for all of the basic stuff, we're going to be using VS Code for most of the basic stuff. And somebody's thinking that should we also talk about TypeScript? If you're here on the call and you're thinking about TypeScript as well, maybe one of these days we'll find time to talk about TypeScript and some of the beautiful things that TypeScript can, some of the beautiful things that we can build or do. That being said, if we want to start writing JavaScript, the first place to really start is inside of our browser, right? How do you open up your browser? There is the inspect keyword. When you right click, it brings your context menu, right? And you can click on the inspect. And when you click on the inspect pops up some information, right? Pops up some information. Most of the information here, if you're just seeing this for the first time, you might not be familiar with this, but what this does is like you have the elements tab, right? Major tabs here that shows you different things about your browser. And this is the particular tab in question that we are that we are going to be really looking out. So what does this tab do, and what can we do with this? Write some form of JavaScript. I hope it is legible. I hope everybody can see the things I'm typing inside of this browser. This is the console, what's it called now? It's called the browser dev tool, right? And inside of this dev tool, it has a console where you can write your JavaScript code. And inside of this place, I can write any valid JavaScript syntax and it's going to agree with me and it's going to allow me to go ahead and write it. So, for example, right, to print anything in our JavaScript, what we use to print is something we call console.log, right? For some persons who have been watching the previous stream, there was a particular stream that I talked about what console and what .log is. So the way you see these two statements, they are what one is the big object, which is a console, and inside of this is what a method or something we call a function that we're going to talk about later on. But in between this place, you can type anything. Now, notice I have everything quoted with a single quote. I can quote it with a double quote as well, right? I can use what the single quote, or the double quote, or another kind of quote that we refer to as what the backtick. So this quote is referred to as what your backtick. Backtick. That is, it's always found above your tab. For those who are using maybe like the standard keyboard, it's always above your tab. And there's another sign on it, which is your tilde, right? But the tab is the major key right there, and it allows you to type what anything, right? Hello. And for some reason, in any programming language that we are learning, hello world is the first thing that we usually write. And the moment you strike your enter here, it displays this hello world. And another very serious thing that happens is it displays what? Undefined after it run the code. Now, I'm also going to be bringing my VS Code interface to this place so that we can see what the VS Code interface also what. So when I put this inside my VS Code interface, I have this L word. So when I put this inside my VS Code interface, I have this L word here. So you can see that what the console, the work of the console.log, right, is to help us to what? Just to return information that our user can see. Not like your user can see per se, but at least you, the developer, can see in your developer console right there. So if you put this console.log inside any maybe JS file, right, you will see it printed in if you have a console. And the reason why you see this printing here, this hello world printing here, is because of the Coca. You can see here that I'm using a Coca tool here, and it's also showing the hello world here, and it's telling me the line where the hello world is coming from. Okay, and that is like the first major thing I like to talk about in JavaScript. So printing, right? If we want to be able to print anything, then it is we use console.log to print any information that we want to get out there for our users. All right. And another thing that I would like to also really talk about is, what does code structure means, right? What does your code structure means? So in JavaScript, right? Um, when we say code structure, right? Code structure sorts of tells us that, well, how do we even write JavaScript? What is the structure of the writing of JavaScript, right? And that's where you have what the line by line, right? Each line can be referred to as like a statement. Each line can be referred to as a statement. And when you combine multiple statements together, you have like complex statements, right? And all these complex statements can be maybe packaged inside something we call a function. And you can package your code in different structures. So I'm just going to be talking about the code structure. Now there's also one thing I want to talk about in the beginning of your learning of JS. If you're learning JS, you would have heard people talk about learning JS and running it inside of the browser. How many persons are thinking that way, right? Where, for example, now I can quickly do some another example so that you see what I'm talking about, right? So this example will be something like this. I'm going to open up. For those who don't know, I'm running this stream on a Windows machine, so just bear with me, right? And I'm just going to be bringing a git bash terminal. It's always very small, and this is something called a git bash terminal that you probably use on the Windows. And I just want to cd into my desktop. Let me cd into my desktop. Do I have my desktop here? Let's see. So here, this is my desktop here, and inside of this place, I don't expect you to know all this I'm going to do now, but I just want to show you like the popular way of running JavaScript that most persons would have seen in YouTube videos and everywhere on the internet. So here I am going to be running some commands. This is a like a very interesting command, intro to JavaScript. So what this does is it creates a folder for me called Intro to JavaScript on my Windows computer, and I can always go. I'm already inside of that place, so I don't have any file here. I can just do like this: touch index.js. So this is a file has been created for me called index.js, and I can use my terminal to also do something right here. I can do something like this: console.log, right? And I can do something like this: hello world. So this is echo.hello world, right? This is just like me doing some things in bash, right? But I want you to put this into my index.js file. So I can check my index.js file, and you can see there right in my index.js file, I have what? The console.log hello world. So how can I run this? The first way you can always run this is that you can do a node and run this. That is the first way. So what is the criteria to do this? You just have a file called a particular .js file, the extension ends in JS, you write your console.log inside of it, and you use your node to run it. And that is like the first very simple way or very easy way for you to run your JS. However, some persons might say this is not good enough. Let me see whether I have Dino here. Let's see, is there Dino here? Okay, I sort of have Dino here as well, so I think I can. Did I just close my terminal? I just did. What? I just closed the whole terminal thing. Oh my god. Oh my god. So I can CD back into my desktop. And I can CD to intro.ts, and I can have ls here. And Dino index.js. Yeah, Dino wouldn't run this, I know. Okay. But definitely Node will run this. Yeah, Node will run this for us. And I know everybody should know Node. If you don't know Node.js, Node.js is just like the server-side version of your normal JavaScript. If I want to run this in a browser, how can I run this in a browser? Now, understanding that the entry point of running anything inside of a browser is the HTML, right? So if we want to run anything inside of our browser, we need a index.html file. And I can always bring my VS Code to run some things for me. So I want to use my VS Code to pop open the old folder, that is the old content of my intro to JavaScript. So what that is supposed to do is that is supposed to open all of the files that I've been working on. So here you can see the index.js right here. This might be tiny a little bit. Just this is tiny, and I also have the index.html here. So if you're just seeing this for the first time again, I'm just going to explain to you what I'm trying to achieve. So in this index.html, right, I can just do the basic files that you have inside your index.html will definitely be, you have your doc type, right? So your doc type, right? Doc type, and the doc type is HTML. We close the doc type and we open the HTML tag. And inside the HTML tag, we have what? The opening of the head, and we can duplicate the head to also have the body, right? And inside of this body here, I mean, we can write a valid HTML. Example of an HTML is something like this. First HTML file. HTML file. What is the full meaning of HTML? Anybody in the comment? I mean, it's a popular thing. Most web page have HTML, one format of HTML or the other. So if I want to write my JavaScript here and I want the browser to help me to run that JavaScript, now that is where the script tag comes in. So inside of your JavaScript, that is when you want to run it inside of the browser now, the first way we can run our JS is to what? To have what? A script tag. And most of the time, you see people say the script tag must be inside of the head, right? And like this, when you have the closing of the script tag, so this is a tag, right? And it's called script, and it allows us to write our JavaScript. And so we can do what? A console.log what hello world. And this is really valid, very, very valid. Now, how can we run this? Right? I'm going to copy the path to this, copy the path, and I'm going to put this inside of my browser. If I put this inside of my browser, and we can put this here, and we can see the first HTML I wrote here, right? And you can then look at our console. You can see this here, and it's telling me that this is coming from what? Index.html, and it's coming from line 5. So this is another very interesting way. Wow, I have lots of new persons on the stream today. I'm so happy to see you, Abosede. Thank you so much for joining this stream. All right. So you have this, very interesting thing going on here. So this is the index.html, and this is what I'm using to display my JavaScript. So how many ways have we talked about to display our JavaScript or to run our JavaScript? We talked about using Node in the terminal, right? You have your terminal, right? You can just always do what? Node and index.js just to run any JS file. It's going to work. So if you don't want that approach, you can put everything inside one HTML file and open that HTML file inside of your browser, and you can have your script tag, right? Have your script tag to write as many of your JavaScript for you, basically, and that is going to work. Now I need to refresh this to see all of the hello world that I have here. And if you don't want this approach again, you can just open up any browser, any web page, and come in here and type any of these things by yourself just for you to start learning, right? However, right, if you have VS Code and you're just trying to get into web development, I'll suggest you get VS Code. And when you get VS Code, install something called Node.js. Once you install it, download a particular extension. You click on the extension tab here and search for what? Quokka. Once you search for Quokka, right, you click on Quokka and you install it, right? Once you install it, then you press what? A Control Shift P or Command Shift P, and you can click on this new JavaScript file. It has the shortcut of what? Control KJ, and it will bring up a new JavaScript file for you, and you can paste this in there. Does that make sense for everybody? So we've talked about like the different ways to run your JS, right? You can run it in a browser, use your Node.js in a terminal, or use your an extension like Coca to run our Node.js easily. And the reason why JavaScript is easy for us to learn is that it is easy for you to write it. Just open up a browser. Once you have a browser, you are good to go. Create your index.html, load the index.html into your browser, and you start scripting with the help of what? Your script tag as well. And that is all good. Now, let me show you and let us move further, right? In terms of what? The code structure. I was trying to talk about the code structure, right? The statements, right? We have this particular line. This is one statement because this is a statement to your computer to do certain thing. And what is this statement telling your computer? This statement is saying just display this what? This particular text, hello world. I mean, we can do some amazing things here, right? You can do some formatting with this here where you, I think, I don't know if I remember how to do all those things, but let me try off the top of my head. I think, is it percentage C now? I can't remember percentage C now. Then you pass in, if you pass in percentage C, I think you can pass in some styles, and that's supposed to affect the way, I'm not sure. Let's try. I'm not sure. It's been a while. I've done all these troublesome kind of JS. I know this is the first time some of us will be saying something like this, right? It's just like an extended version of your what's it called now? An extended version of your console right there. So I think you can pass in some modifiers, and it's going to, I'm not sure. Let me just refresh this whole thing, whether it's going to work. Yeah, I can't remember exactly how to format, but these are called, I think, format specifier. Has anybody used the format specifier before? The console format specifier? I think yes. Is anybody on the call that has used this before? You can let me know. Let me see. I could just call this. So the format specifiers are just extensions. So they're not common nowadays anymore, but I think they allow you to do some amazing things with your console.log. Well, I can always search format specifiers in console.log. So you have like is my browser clear now? So you have the the percentage S, right? For format the value of a string. You have a percentage I or D for numbers, F for floating point, and O for an expandable DOM object, and different things like that. So let's just see one example, and then we should be good to go right there. Okay, so I can just copy this. I mean, this is similar to what I did. Let me see what I did here in the console here. So you declare a variable to be $s. It has to be a string for it to work. So I'm going to do this here. So here we are declaring something. I'm going to talk about this syntax later on. And if I go back into our browser, we should be able to see hello1. So this is like a format specifier now. So it is replacing this percentage s with this variable. And the only reason why it is working is that this a is a string, and that's why it is working here. So if you want to use like a number integer, this is going to be a high, and this is also going to be a valid number, and it's also going to work. It should work in the browser. So they are called what? Format specifiers. You can see that our hello1 is still working. So this approach is called format specifier. It's not common, but it is still working. And I think there is the one that accepts CSS as well. I'm not sure whether I got anyone that accepts some formatting. Okay, this is an example with, I think, $C. You can see this one here. $C accepts some nice formatting there. And yeah, can always bring them here. So this $C here is bringing, so it's applying all these CSS that we've written. It's going to be applying it on this text right here. And I think that, I mean, I don't know why people still do this, if anybody still does something like this, or whichever way, it is just worth knowing. It's good for anybody who is learning to know that you can do some of these things here. And again, it is called format specifier. That is, you're specifying the way the console.log is going to be formatted. It's going to be displaying the things it's displaying into the browser. So I mean, you must have opened some companies. If you have opened any company's console, you must have seen some large chunk of text in beautiful colors like this. So what they are doing is just console.log, and they are using the percentage C as what? A format specifier, right? Formatting all this bunch of text with this CSS. Is anybody just hearing CSS for the first time? If you're just hearing CSS for the first time, somebody can also help me to tell us in the comment the full meaning of CSS. Okay, right? CSS is just there also the hard colors, beautiful stylings and laying out to a particular project inside of the browser. So the reason why you can see YouTube now, you can see the red color, you can see the white background on your YouTube, you can see all the beautiful colors that you can see, and the laying out, the arrangement on your YouTube is because of something called CSS, right? CSS was used to style that particular page, right, to make sure that everything is well arranged and everything looks beautiful. So that is what CSS does there. So I just talked about the format specifier. If you're just seeing it for the first time, you can use your percentage s for strings, percentage I for integer, percentage f, percentage I or d, right, percentage f for your floating point, that's decimal, and you can use the percentage C to bring in CSS on your console.logs. Okay, so now let's take it a little bit further. Code structure. If we are within this HTML, right, this file is a HTML file, but starting from line 4 to line 12, that is JavaScript. Thank you very much. Somebody said it's cascading style sheet. All right, thank you. So here you have what? This is what? Line 5 is a statement, right? That's an instruction. Line 7 is what? An instruction. Line 8, line 9, line 10. All these lines are instruction downward that you're giving out to your computer. So we call them statements. They are statements, refer to them as statements. And you identify a statement by what? Just by it being what? It's ending with a semicolon, right? That's like a valid instruction, just a single piece of instruction that you're sending out there, right there. And another thing that you should know in JavaScript is that you can write comments in your JavaScript. How do we write comments in our JavaScript? How do we write comments in our JavaScript, right? We can write comments with what? The forward slash there, and do this. Now, this is a comment, right? This is a comment. What do we refer to as a comment? Comment is just you're trying to communicate to maybe somebody else who is a technical person that is going to be joining you on the project, right? This is if you're creating a function, if you're doing something, this is the reason why I'm using 5console.logs. Or if something is a to-do, right? You can specify that, well, this is a to-do, right? Add a new feature, or different things here. Those are the reasons why we use what comment. And you would also see that the browser, our VS Code tool, now the tool that we're using to write code, understands this, and it is changing the color. The moment you put this double forward slash, it has changed the color of the whole thing, and you can see that is what comment. And this is referred to as what? A single line, single line comment. Will this show in the browser? Anybody, will this comment show in the browser that we are using to run this project? No, it won't show, right? Because it is a comment. It is a comment, right? It is just meant for you to pass more information, further information out. So that is that. So again, when we're talking about the structure, the code structure, we have statements. Most of the time, statements are always on one line, right? And they end with semicolon. And after your statement, your semicolon, most of the time, is semicolon compulsory in our JavaScript? When we are writing JavaScript, is semicolon really compulsory? Based on your experience and your knowledge, do you think, for those persons that are on the call, do you think semicolon is important or compulsory? I like to really hear what people have to say about semicolons or semicolons, because they have been really a serious problems and fight and arguments about semicolons. If you look at this, I don't have semicolon at the end of this, but it's still going to run. But most of the time, the reason why you have a semicolon or a semicolon at the end is to show that this is the end of this thing. And at some point, if you write some code without the semicolon, right, it can cause a problem later for you as you write code. So sometimes it is important, like what POJ is saying, right? It's important that you should put a semicolon, because that you're saying that this is a single statement. So imagine somebody write a sentence in English language and they didn't put a full stop, right? They are not communicating, right? So the reason why you put, comma, the reason why you put, semicolons, exclamations in your punctuation in English language is for communication. So somebody said it's not compulsory, but it's really essential. It can save you thousands of hours of debugging, finding what is not missing, because your code is not just running, because the first line and the second line have been joined together, right? So eventually learn to write your JavaScript with your semicolon, right? That's a very good discipline that you can do to yourself. Okay. And again, after our code structure, what is the next thing that we're going to talk about? How many of us know about use strict before? You've heard about use strict before. So when I say use strict, it means that at the top of your code, you see something like this: use strict. How many persons have seen this before? Use strict. I believe that is no longer common because most of your bundlers sort of had these things for you, right? Our bundlers helps us with some of these things now, but it's good for you to understand what use strict is doing. What use strict is doing is that it is just bringing in a strict version of your JavaScript. That's what it's saying. So off the top now, it means that the kind of JavaScript that you're writing, the compiler will take it and apply some strict rules to that JavaScript. And what are some of the strict rules that the computer will bring in? The computer will not allow you to do some terrible variable declarations. So when you do something like name equals to maybe something like this, a day right here. Now, when you do something like this, it's really not going to, the compiler should be making noise. And that's why you can see now in this particular code here, it is allowing us to do something like this, right? It's not any problem. And I think that we can also go ahead and do something like this, global this.name right there. So it's not blocking it. But if you are inside, let's go into the browser and write JavaScript inside of browser, and let's see. I think our browser should still respect the use strict. So if I put use strict on the top of my code here, use strict, and I sort of do name equals to maybe something like this. Now, I think if I check windows.name, I think it's still being added. So you can see that it's still not, there's no really, it is not as strict as it used to be before, right? So before, when you put use strict at the top, right, it enforces some strict rules, right? And many of those strict rules are no longer in are no longer relevant anymore, right? So, but I think I'd have to check JavaScript specifications to be sure whether there's still relevance for it in the specification. But off the top of my head now, I don't think I write it in my own code, because many of the bundlers take over some things like that. And even most of the time we write code in JavaScript, in TypeScript, right? And every of these codes are just converted down back for you. So um, you don't really you don't really focus so much on use strict like that anymore. And the bundlers are, most of the bundlers you can configure your bundlers to add your use strict into your code, to inject use strict into your code. So it's not anything serious. If you're going to be writing React, how many persons have been writing React lately? If you've been writing React lately, there is use client now in your React. And yeah, there's something like this in our React going forward, right? So this is another new implementation that is coming to React, for those who know, right there. So the major the major thing is, it's not really common anymore. Like the work of your use streets are not common anymore. But what do we have them for? The major thing where you have them for is that for modern JavaScript and some strictness, you bring in use strict into your code. Okay, so not so really very important anymore per se. Right there is, we call anything that you have that goes in this format, we call them declaratives. We call them directives. Just like it is giving the compiler a particular instruction, that is, treat this code in this certain way, use this code in this certain way, apply this rule to this code in this certain way. So when it's located at the top of your code, right, the compiler is supposed to apply some strict rules, right? And I think you can also inject it into functions, but it's not so much applicable in terms of the modern generation of code writing, because the bundlers handle this. How many of us don't know the meaning of bundlers? If you're just hearing bundlers for the first time, bundlers are tools like your Webpack, your Vite, your roll up. There is a new one that was released today, which is called roll down. We have the turbo pack. All these guys are bundlers, and they help us to transpile our code into some, to use modern versions of JavaScript, basically. So the real big deal in JavaScript that I'm going to be really focusing on is variables declaration, right? If you've been on my stream before now, I've talked about this before. Like, this is a big deal, right? It's a big deal. And when I mean it's a big deal is because variables are the starting point of us writing code. Do we agree? Right? Variables is always the starting point for you to write any code. And if you cannot declare variable, I'm not sure you can really start writing code. So how do you declare variable? Major declaration of variable happens with the keyword let, right? The name of the variable, right? In this case, the name of variable, Victor. Okay, good to see you. And here, you can see here. So let's break this down, this syntax, this structure down. What is happening here? Let is a keyword. Name of variable is what? The particular name that we are using to what? Represent the variable. And value is what? What is value? Value is the value for that variable. So in simple term, I can break this down and say let what name equals to what? What's the name of the person teaching? The name of the person teaching is Ojo, right? And this is a variable declaration. So what does variable declaration means? If you're new to programming, see variable declaration as what? A box. You're keeping something inside of a box. So when you open a box, a carton, you can put what? A biro, a single biro into a carton, and you can name it maybe box one. And that is what you're doing. When you declare a variable, you're telling JavaScript that, well, in all my code that I want to be doing, I want you to reserve this name, this variable called name. I want to be using it to do certain things. Keep it for me. I will be using it for certain things. And that's what we do with variable declaration. A simple analogy is that, another simple analogy is that our parents gave us name when they gave birth to us. True or false? Is there anybody that does not have a name, right? For as many persons that are listening on the stream, it's just somebody that doesn't have a name. I mean, is it possible for somebody not to have a name? No, everybody has a name. And I think I'm from the Yoruba tribe. Yoruba has a adage that says that it's because of the day you maybe enter into trouble or you cause a trouble. That's why people give you, your parents gave you a name. So that time when you cause trouble, right, they can say this is the person who caused this trouble, right? So naming is very important. The same thing to your JavaScript. So when you want to keep a variable and you want JavaScript to know that particular name, then you give that thing a name. And before you can give something a name, you need to know, oh, what would be the value of that thing? In this case, the value here is what? Ojo. And you can see the value here is quoted with what? Single quotes. So this value quoted, right, is what? It can be either a single quote, a backtick, or what? A double quote. It can be what? A single quote, a backtick, or what? A double quote. And this kind of declaration is a declaration of variable called what? I am declaring what? Declaring what? A string what? A string variable. Wow. Buggy Deep 21. Nice to meet you. Hello, right? A lot of people are joining the stream today. Wow. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. So here you're declaring a string variable. You're declaring a string what? Variable. And we can go ahead and what? Declare what? A number variable. Right? And this is what? The declaration of a number variable. We can go ahead and declare what? A Boolean what? A Boolean declaration. And what? You have what? The Boolean declaration is always like what? A true or false, right? And that's the Boolean declaration. We can declare something to be what? You can declare a variable to be what? Declare a what? A null variable, and you can declare something to be null, and you can declare something to be what? Undefined. And these are what? Examples of common variable declaration. What did I say this is again? You're keeping a value and say, I want to use this value in my code, in the programming that I'm trying to do, in the beautiful project I'm trying to do. I am reserving this variable. I am the only person that wants to use this variable. So nobody else should declare this kind of variable again. So if you go ahead and declare that variable again, then there's going to be trouble. So we then see an error that looks like this. Identifier name has already been declared. How many persons have run into this error before while you're learning, while you're trying to learn, right? It will tell you, I don't know what you're saying, because somebody already came to the bank of variables in JavaScript and they deposited a variable called name. So you cannot go into this bank and deposit another variable called what? Name. If you want to deposit another variable or create another variable, you can call it name one, but you cannot use this name what? And now you can notice this let here. So what is this let doing here? Let me break this down again further so that you can understand what is going on here. Now, what is going on here is that what? We are saying let age, let's say new what? Or count. And this is the first line. That is, you're going to the bank and say, please, I want you to keep this variable for me. Let nobody be able to use this variable. And please store inside my what? Inside this variable, inside this account that I'm just creating, please store 10 inside of it, or store 11 inside of it. Does that make sense to anybody? Right? Your variables are what? They are just boxes, cartons that you're opening the carton and you're putting a value inside. Open the carton, put a value inside. Open the carton, put the values inside it, and so that you can reuse them. What is the essence of variable? So that we can reuse those values in our code. All right. So, for example, now let's look at the common thing I've been doing. The first thing we did is what? We did a console.log, and we did what? Something like what? Hello world. How many of us can remember that we did something like this? So, what if we want to what? Bring in the person's name now. We want to bring in, or let's do it like this. This hello word here is a greeting. So what I can do here is I can take this whole thing here, cut this, right, and put it inside another word, another variable called greetings. And I can say what? This is the greetings. And inside of this place, I can now pass the variable and use my variable in the code. And you can see now that what JavaScript is aware of what greetings means, because now JavaScript knows what the variable is all about. And this is the beautiful thing with JavaScript. You went to the bank, you created that variable and say, well, JavaScript bank, I am the owner of this code I'm writing. Please reserve the word greetings for me. And inside that greetings, this is the value I want you to put inside of it. The value that you put there is going to be kept for you. So now this first line is called what? Declaration, right? You are what? You're declaring, and what? You're declaring. And this line, what is the second line doing here? You are assigning what? A value, that is, you're defining. So this process is what? Is just what? It contains the declaration of that variable, and there is the assigning of value to that variable. That is, you're defining. So it's also referred to as what? The defining phase of what? Your variable. Okay. So that is the major introduction to what? Variable with what? Let. We can also declare another kind of variable declaration, right? With the word what? Const. So what does const helps us to do? Const helps us to create what? Variables that are what? That are constant. And so now I can come here and change that thing to what? I can't change it. When I try to change it, what is it telling me? Saying that, look at here, come here. Assignment to constant variable is a problem. You came to the bank and you declared a value. You said you want to have what? 3 naira 14159 kobo in your account. Naira is what we spend in Nigeria. Yes, Abdul Qadri. Thank you for bringing that up. Let me go back to that screen. Let me go back to that page. So here, the count here would have been what? If I ask for this count and use this count here, it will be what? Undefined. Because as at this point, it has not what? It has not been defined. At this point, it has not been defined. So here is until we pass in a value, that is until this assignment happens. This sign is called an assignment sign in your JavaScript. What do we call this in real life? In real life calculation or your mathematics, we call this what? We call this equals to sign, equals to. But no, here in JavaScript, we call it assignment what? Assignment sign. That is, this count variable that you want to keep in the account, in the bank of JavaScript, you want to call it what? You want to assign it what? A value. And what is the value that you're assigning it? You're assigning it 11. 11. 11. And so when you assign this thing 11, anytime they want to use it back, what will the value be? The value will always be what? 11. So if I come down here and ask for this same account, the same count here, it's going to be 11. And that is the beauty of what? JavaScript. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to I noticed you've scheduled days for live classes, sir. Do you possibly have a recorded sheet of scheduled live classes so I can keep track on it? All right, so Victor, let me let me specify this. This is not like art school related. However, I still preach about art school. So this is not like real class stuff, okay? This is just me personally doing my thing and helping people who wants to learn JavaScript. So if you want to get like the schedule ahead of time, I think I'll just find a way to put everything into a Google sheet where I can send it out and make it open for everybody to be able to see. Does that work, Victor? Right. So I'm just gonna like have a sheet or a calendar where I can list all of the future coming streams that I'm going to be doing. And yeah, you can have access to it. All right. I try to do these Friday and Saturdays. I just try to do these Fridays and Saturdays. This is not art school related. It's not art school sponsored. It's just me personally doing my thing. However, if you're here and you want to learn how to write code, you can look up for Art School Africa. It's one of the best places to ever learn how to become a software engineer ever. So hopefully one day they can sponsor this, right? But for now, this is not sponsored by Art School. This is just personal. This is just me doing my thing. And I mean, if you know me, you know that I enjoy talking about JavaScript. I enjoy preaching JavaScript. So that's what I'm just trying to do here. I want as many persons to be able to build JavaScript, build with JavaScript, understand the basics, have confidence in your ability and go ahead to build amazing products. So that's just what I am doing here. Does that make sense, Victor? I hope, Victor, you understand what I just explained. Right now, my schedule is Fridays and Saturdays. So Fridays I talk about JavaScript, and Fridays I talk about JavaScript, and Saturdays I talk about React. Fridays, I talk about JavaScript. So if you have JavaScript questions, problems, we can talk about them together. You can bring them to the stream. And on Saturdays, I try to teach React. The major goal is I am teaching Next.js, right? That's what I want to teach, Next.js in particular. But we're starting with React so that everybody can come up to speed and we can flow along. The goal is not just going to be maybe like academic teaching. The goal is to build something with all these things that we're learning. So we want to be able to build something. That's why we're here. We're not just academic stuff that we're going to just be teaching up and down. No, eventually I hope we can build something that is Saturdays. You might not like the time on Saturdays, but I hope you forgive me in advance. If you're in Nigeria, the time on Saturdays is I think 9 p.m. Time is 9 p.m. I know some of my friends from Art School Africa that my students might not like that timing. Right after I would have finished teaching them for 2 hours before, and I'm doing another teaching again. So, but like I know that you guys are all busy, and that's the only slot of my time that is really available. I hope I can adjust it, but I don't know. It's always 9 p.m. And if you're outside Nigeria, maybe you're in the UK, I think in the UK it should also be 9 p.m. as well, or 8 should be maybe 8 p.m. in the UK thereabout. I'm not sure where I'll come from, but if you're in the Eastern time, that should be around 3 p.m. in the afternoon. If you're in other time zones, I think I would just document all these things and make these things clear. And I'm going to tweet about all the times. Somebody said, "Don't I get tired?" Like Abdul Qadri said, well, you don't get tired of doing the things you love, right? This is me just preaching about the things I love, and I try to manage my health as much as possible as well. But this is fun to me, and I just don't want to see people not knowing these things. I want to see you know them and build something and challenge the world and go into the world to show the world what you know. Enough of, Nigerians or Africans struggling to be able to build something or to be able to say they know something, right? Because of the poor infrastructure, the education that we all grow up to have, because all these things are poor and they are not sustainable, right? So when we start learning, we are not able to go out there to quickly challenge the status quo. You're not going out there to be quickly contribute to open source. But what I want you to do is I want to make JavaScript engineers that are going to be solid and they can quickly go to the world and challenge their world. They can quickly go to the world and contribute. They can be vocal about JavaScript. They can add to the language and ask questions. Why are we doing this? Why don't we have this feature in JavaScript? Enough of, my students now or the people that I've taught hiding and say, well, because we're just learning it, so we cannot talk in the public. No, I want to, help people to become confident, to be able to build open source libraries, to be able to contribute to any open source project in the world with your knowledge of JavaScript. And that's what I hope to achieve. Much more for in Nigeria, and I hope you can get job, right? I hope you can get job, have a beautiful career, live a good life, get the good kind of life that you deserve. And much more importantly, fulfill your purpose. The goal there is for all of us to fulfill our purpose. Just see this as my own opportunity to fulfill my own purpose, right? This is what God has called me to do in one way or the other, right? I'm just trying to enjoy it and just fulfill my purpose. And whenever death comes, you can be happy that you played your part, and you're just confident that you contributed your part to the world, and you made the world a better place than that you met it. So that's just it on the long run. However, I try to rest, I try to find time to rest. But thank you for thank you for your cares and concerns about my health. And my wife, if she's on the stream, I'm not sure whether she's on the stream listening, but my wife, if she's on the stream, she has said like the stream must not be more than 1 hour. Like I'm married and my wife is always shouting and like the stream must not be more than 1 hour. So you know what that means? That she's helping me to protect my body, to protect my health, and as much as I want to share, as much as I'm passionate to help people, right? I have people that also like control and help me to don't overdo all of these things. So back to JavaScript, and let's just quickly tie all these things up right there. So when you declare, this is the declaration. When you ask for that thing here, it's going to be undefined. You can see the value undefined here. But when you assign it a value, I said this equals to is called assignment. So when you assign it a value, you assign it 11 here. And now, when you ask for that to count again, now the compiler knows that the value of count is now 11. And that's what is happening. So the process of declaring is what? Of declaring a variable is what you're declaring and you're assigning that in a value. You're declaring the variable and you're assigning it a value. You're declaring it and you're assigning it a value. When you declare something without assigning it a value, that is going to be what? Undefined. For a constant now, or for can we redeclare with let? Anybody in the comments, can we redeclare with let? What I'm saying with redeclare is that can we say count is no longer 11, count is now 100? Is that possible? Is that possible? Can we redeclare? Can we reassign count a value? Yes, it is absolutely possible. All right, it's absolutely possible. But when we go to the const word, like when you go to the const pi, right, that's the first thing. And when you assign pi the value of what? 22 divided by 7. When you assign this 22 by 7, when you assign this 22 by 7, beautiful. Can you see this first error now? Can you see a good error here? Can anybody see this error here? The first error. This error says that what? Your const declaration is missing what? An initializer. So it means that const does not allow us to declare something like this. Okay, you can only do something like this with your const. This is the only valid thing that const is doing. So here we say what our value of our pi is 3. blah 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 3 point long something there, and I cannot redeclare this to be what 3.14 anymore. It will never agree with me. It's not going to agree, because it will tell you that what assignment to a constant variable is not possible, is not allowed. Assignment to a constant variable is not allowed. Assignment to a constant variable is not allowed. So when you use your const for what variable declaration, you cannot reassign that thing again, because your JavaScript will not agree with you. Your JavaScript will not agree with you. And that makes sense, right? Because when you declare something to be a constant, most of the time they expect you to even specify. How many of you notice a convention when how many of you have noticed the convention of declaring constant in JavaScript, that when you declare constant, basically they want the constants to be a capital letter? How many persons have seen something like this before? Right? So that it is different from your normal variable declaration. And that's why it's just a convention, right? It's just a good way to differentiate your what? Your const declaration. It's just a good way to differentiate your const declaration, making it all capital case right there. Now, when you're declaring your variable declaration should not what? Your variable declaration should not start with what? A number. Can we do this? Is this allowed in JavaScript? No, because this variable here is not a valid identifier. So your identifier must have a valid shape, a valid structure, right? A valid what? Structure, a valid shape. Your identifier, again, I repeat, must have a what? A what? A consistent what? Format. Can it start with a symbol? Yes, it can start with a symbol. That is acceptable. You can see it can start with symbol, right? Some specific symbols. Can it start with heart? I think it should allow us to start with heart. Is it allowing us to start with heart? No, it's not allowing heart. Yeah, it's not allowing heart to happen. But your identifier, right? You see with your identifier, there is a way in which your identifier must be what? These are the only two identifiers that was allowed. The rest of the identifiers will not be allowed. You can't start with a symbol. You can't start with a number. It has to start with what? In a format. And another way is that what? We have a character casing. How many of us know the character casing that JavaScript expects? So this character casing, right? The character casing, character casing in programming. So we have what? We have something that looks like this, right? What is this? What do we call this? Where we capitalize what? You see that what? The first letter is not capitalized, but every letter after that is going to be what? Capitalized. Right? How many of us have seen something like this before and we know the name that this is called? And if we're writing something like Python, right? If we're writing something like Python, I think there's one more. We have something like this first word, first underscore word, underscore name. But if people that are writing Python will be familiar with something like this, you've written some form of Python before, you'll be familiar with this. I'm waiting for somebody in the comment to list some of the programming character casing that right there. Right, you have things like, should I say it, you have like the Pascal case, you have your snake case, right? You have different versions of them. Where's my chat GPT? Different character casing, different character casing in what? In JavaScript. Different character casing in programming generally. Different character casing in programming, right? Something like your Pascal case, like Pascal case, right? Snake case. So I can't really get the list of all of them, but these are the common ones that I think I know, right, as of the time that we are talking now. Right, we have this is snake here, right? This is snake case here, and this is referred to as Pascal case here. So JavaScript identifier uses what? This Pascal case. Your JavaScript identifiers, right? Identifier refers to variable declared, right? The variables that you declare, right? They hard work, they must be Pascal case. Now, is there a rule that catches this? There is no rule that catches this, but it's a convention that is advised that you should follow whenever you're writing your code. All right. Also, another thing I like to say is that make sure your naming makes sense, right? Right? Make sure your naming makes sense. You don't do like something like A equals to 1, let B equals to 2. I mean, you don't do things like this, right? Because what is A? What is B? So you want your naming of your variable to make sense, right? And I also advise that what our constant should be capital, what capital case. Our constant should be capital case. All the constants that we are working with should be what? All in uppercase for for good protection there, for good consistency there, right there. And I want to talk about data types. Should I go ahead and talk about data types? Are we tired? Are we tired? Anybody tired? Should I go on or stop? We should push further a little bit. I mean, we can take some minutes break, if you want to take some minutes of break to just rest a little bit, right? Or if we're not tired, we can fire on all cylinders. All right. So people say we should fire on all cylinders. Good. So we have data types. I mean, by their name, when you say data types, what does data type means? So data type means what? The type of the data. And in JavaScript, we have number, right? This is a number data type. These are numbers. These are numbers. These are beautiful numbers here in JavaScript. And another thing is what you can say. What you can declare. You can declare something like this as well. You can say something like this, right? This is valid. How many of you agree with me that this is valid? All these are valid, right? They are valid. These are very, very valid valid ways of declaring variables. Wow. I like this. I like this. I like this Copilot. Copilot is pushing me to you see all the things that we have here. Right here, this is a decimal, but it's pointing to 100 point 00, right? I mean, we can make it 100.90. And what does this stand for? This stands for 1 million. 1 million is no longer much in Nigeria currency, though. If you're a Nigerian on the call, 1 million is not so much, right? How many zeros? It's just 6 zeros. All right, just 6 zeros. And here we have what? 1 raised to power what? 1 raised to power what? 1 times 10 raised to power 6, which is still your 1 million. And you have what? 1 times 10 raised to power minus 6, right? And we have what? What is this here? How many persons have seen this before? This price 5. How many persons have seen price 5 and price 6 before? Price 5 and price 6. How many persons have seen that kind of variable before? Price 5 and price 6. I want somebody to guess that in the comment section. Price 5, price 6, and price 7. What is the peculiar thing about price 5 and price 6? What is the peculiar thing about price 5 and price 6 and price 7? They are numbers, but they are numbers with different with a different edge. Who can help me? Who can help me? Please don't desert me. I need somebody to help me in the comment. Who can really, really help us? Price 5 variable, price 6 variable, and price 7.
What do you think they stand for? Price 5, price 6, and price 7. Who wants to help us? Okay, let me tell you what this stands for. The OX here is standing for what? Hexadecimal. The OX is standing for what? Hexadecimal. The OX is standing for what? Hexa what? Decimal. The OB is standing for what? A number in binary base. And you can see that when I highlight it, it is referring to what? 10 has what? As 2. And 11 is going to be 3. Right? 11 is going to be 3. And 101 is going to be what? 5, right? You can see. I mean, you can see 1, 1. I mean, these are very interesting, very interesting things here. If you remember your binary numbers base in your O level or college level mathematics, number base, right? And this is what? The octa, right? The base 8. This is the base 8 representation of what? Base 8 representation of what? Of so it allows you to, JavaScript allows us to declare all these numbers as well, right? And you can see that what when you console.log price 5, you can see that what price 5 is converted directly to what the next is converted to what? Is converted to 16 directly. So if you do 11, right, you can see if you do 12, and I think if you do something like A, if you do B, if you do C, if you do, very interesting. So these are formats that JavaScript allow and agree and accept that you should declare. So that is numbers. Again, it allows you to do integers, plus or minus whole numbers. It allows you to do decimal, and it allows you to do another interesting kind of number. Who knows the other kind of number that JavaScript allows us to do? Who knows the kind of number that JavaScript allows us to do? That is the freaking big integer. That guy is big. So any number, right, that ends with what? With letter n is referred to as what? A big int. Any variable declaration that ends with letter n is referred to as what? Big int, or what we call big integer. And if you are, you can be asking questions. Why do we have big int? Why do we have numbers? The reason is that at some point you can get to the max number. Like there is something we call what? Max save integer. Max save integer. There is something we call max save integer, right? So you are able to reach the end of what? You are able to reach the end of what? Max save integer. You're able to get to the end of the maximum available number possible. And so when you want to do operations with bigger numbers that goes beyond this, especially scientific operations, then JavaScript begins to throw some weird errors. And that was why what big int was introduced, right? Big int was introduced right there. So I think if you do like a plus 10 of your max save integer, it begins to give you different wrong values right there. So it begins to give you different wrong values, which is not supposed to give you, right? And that's where what your big integer comes into the picture. And how do you know something is a big int? Anything that ends with n is what big int. Anything that ends with n is referred to as what your big int. And also, somebody will be thinking now, is it possible to have operation between your normal number and your big int? Is there anybody thinking like that? Can I add my normal 10 plus 10n? Is it possible to have something like this? Who's thinking in that direction? So let me quickly show you. Can you see this error message? I like the error message that we are getting today. Like they are direct, simple, explanatory. It's telling you that cannot mix what big int and other type. Use what explicit conversion. So when he's asking me to use explicit conversion, so I have to find a way to convert this back to what a normal number. If I convert it to a normal number, I can say pass int, and if you pass this int here, and then we are able to what to do the normal addition here. So what is the work of this pass int? I'm going to be talking about this later on. And also we have the string. I've talked about the string, right? The string declaration is what I can declare full name. You can declare full name to be what? To be equals to something like this. Full name to be equals to something like this. And you can also I said again, we can do something like this, and we can do something like this. So this is the three variant of your word of your string, right? This is the three variant of your string word. This is the three variant of your string declaration. And the interesting thing about the last one is what it allows me to do multi-line. How many of us agree with that? That the one with the backtick allows me to do what? Multi-line. And not just multi-line, it allows me to do interpolation. What is interpolation? How many of us have heard of the word interpolation before? How many persons here have heard of the word interpolation? Interpolation. That is, it allows us to what? To bring in something we call dollar and curly brackets. Dollar and curly brackets, and you can do any valid JavaScript operation. Wow, big man, you're welcome. All right. Your name is scary though. You want to change your name? I'm afraid. Okay, I won't be afraid anymore. Nice to see you. Nice to see you join the stream as well. Thank you so much. Illuminati 9768. Thank you for the support. I think you're always there joining the call. I really appreciate. So with your interpolation happens with what your dollar and what your dollar and your curly braces, which allows us to what to sort of do like some beautiful and amazing, interesting thing there. Any valid JavaScript thing is allowed here. Any valid JavaScript thing is allowed here. Any valid JavaScript thing is allowed here. Any valid JavaScript thing, again, I repeat, is allowed there. Okay, you're welcome. Said I'm Indian, not American. All right. You're welcome. You're welcome. So any valid JavaScript is allowed within your dollar curly braces, right? Any word valid JavaScript. So 2 plus 2, right? Anything that is just valid JavaScript, any valid JavaScript syntax is allowed, is agreed, is useful here. And that is the beauty of JavaScript. JavaScript is beautiful. Can't you see this? Right? Being able to declare multi-line and being able to interpolate things, right, is a beautiful thing with your JS. Very amazing syntax, right? There. Again, I am saying this anytime you are using your backtick for the declaration of the string, you can interpolate. What do we use to interpolate? Your dollar, right, and your curly braces. It allows us to do any valid JavaScript operation. And what else should we talk about? What other variables do we have talk about? We have the boolean or the boolean, right? What do we do with the boolean? So the boolean is something like true or false. So you're saying that when Illuminati, I'm going to use your name now. I hope you don't mind. Illuminati 9768. So joined the stream. So I'm going to be declaring a very interesting variable. Join the stream, right? And I'm declaring a variable called join the stream to be true. So I can go ahead and do like what a console.log, and I'm going to be saying, let me declare his name as well. I think new name, and the name, I don't know whether you are a male or female. So you can also tell me how you want me to address you if you don't mind. I'm going to say Illuminati 9768, right? And I can always say that what console.log. So I can say that what the new name, right? Plus what joined the stream. Or I can do it like this. Let's do it like this. Let's do a string did new name, right? Join. Let's see. Join the stream, and we can always, we're just trying to learn and use all the variable things that we have. So yeah, this is a question right here. And did Illuminati 9768 join join the stream? And so, we can always give it a response. And the kind of response that we're expecting is you're expecting yes or no, right? True or false. And that is what our Boolean helps us to do right there. It helps us to what? Undo what? A true or what? Or false kind of system right there. So when you want to answer this kind of question, then you can say something like this. Let's just still, I think I can manipulate this further, and we can say this is did this person join the stream? Yes, they joined. So if they joined the stream, I can do like this, another plus, and I can do something like joined the stream. If join the stream is true, I think if join the stream is true, I want to do some manipulation. If joining the stream is true, then you want to return yes or no. So right here now, look at this here. This is getting interesting. I am doing did with a small space plus. So what this plus is doing is what is joining this did plus this new name plus this, and it's joining all of them together. Now this is the strange thing that you have not seen before, right? I am going to be explaining this later. So what is happening here is that what I am right asking a question, right? And I want to display something here. No. Let's see what's going on. I think let me put everything into. Yes, I'm from Nigeria. I'm very comfortable to share that. I'm from Nigeria. I'm from Nigeria. We are the most populous black nation existing. So, and we are always proud people. It's just that we can be too proud. I think I think I'm messing this variable declaration up. Let's break this down into let's break this down so that it's not too difficult for us to do. So here the first thing is what the first question, let's call this question is this, and we also want to declare another variable called answer. So let answer equals to something like this. No, I just want, so something like this. Yes, India is the most populated country in the world, right? We can't compete with you guys, right? So here you can see this answer here that says that what? Yes, Illuminati 9768 joined the stream. So what is happening here, right? Now, the plus sign again is for joining two things together. So it's joining yes with the name of the person and with this word, right? So here, I'm just trying to play with what this thing here. Let's console.log this here. This is the first question was console.logged, and this is the answer was console.log. So did Illuminati what 9768 join the stream? Yes, Illuminati 9768 joined the stream. And that's, me just using our word, this boolean called what joined what the boolean that we use here. We're trying to maybe use it to declare. So I want to bring that in here now. So if I want to get this yes now programmatically from this join the stream, I can use some tricks to do this. Let me just switch into this place here. And yes, you're feeling special. Okay, good. We're also feeling special to have you on the stream. Trust me. To have people from, the other part of the world join this stream. I mean, it's a big win for us. So if I change this to be what? True, right? You would notice that the answer has changed to yes. And if we change it back to false, right, our answer has changed back to no. And so you see that what with Boolean is a way to do what? A true or false, a yes or no, a one or zero situation in any programming. And that is what your Boolean allows us to do. Now, let's just quickly move to null. Null. So again, what is null? Let what? Nothing equals to what? Null. So when you say nothing to be null, and you kind of like console.log what? Console.log nothing. And it's just still nothing. And this is from your mathematics, right? Your empty set, right? It does not contain anything. It's just null, right? So here, yes, we're trying to be like the Indians too. If you're saying the Africans are so good, then what about the Indians? You guys are dominating the tech space. You have people everywhere. You have CEOs everywhere. You have, the best students in America as well, everywhere. And we, the Africans, we're also trying to be like you guys. So I am a mobile dev and just saw your stream randomly. Whoa, thank you. I'm just trying to teach JavaScript on the fly for as many persons. Everybody who joins becomes my friend. So nice to meet you, right? You're welcome to our stream. What kind of mobile development do you do? Is it like native or do you do hybrid? I mean, it's nice to have you on the stream. So here was saying that what we're declaring something to be null, and that's nothing. We can also declare something to be what? You can also declare something to be what? Undefined, right? Right? You can. So here you can declare something to be undefined, and just trust me, if you do something to be like QWERTY, like this, and if you console.log QWERTY, you have your undefined already. Yeah, so you do native Android development. Oh, that's beautiful. Nice to really meet you. Right, yeah. We can learn a lot from you. Trust me. Java is a very beautiful programming language. And so you have what null, and we have what the undefined what declaration. Why do we need null declaration? Why do we need undefined? I mean, you would understand along the line some of the reasons why we need some of this declaration. Now, another thing I want to quickly talk about is what objects. So what are objects or declaration? When you say something is an object, what signifies object? So object declaration is what? When you use your curly braces to declare something, that is what we call the object. So in this situation here, the curly bracket here, right, signifies object, and this name here signifies what? A what? A property and what? Value, or Name is a what? A key and value. So again, your object is combining what? Multiple variable into just one. So you can see here that we combine what? Something that would have declared as name, something that would have declared as age, something that would have declared as a student. We combine them to be what? One variable called what? Person. And again, we will delve into object later on. I mean, objects are very powerful, and they do a lot of beautiful things for us. Yeah. So we can still rewrite this as what? Name, comma, age, comma, a student. And this is also valid. Very, very valid right here. So you have what? Person two here. This is valid. Okay. This is very, very much valid. And the last thing here is that what? Wow, many founders. So you have lots of startups in India building amazing technologies. Is that what you're saying? So here we also have what? Symbols. Symbols are not common, but we can also declare something called symbols. So when you declare something like this, right, they are what? They are symbols, right? And eventually I will show you how to use this later on as we learn together. But the symbols allows us to what? To do complex declaration. Most importantly, one way, if I talk about this, don't let me touch this now, but trust me, in another stream that I will talk about, I would really tell you why we have streams. Oh, so the Indian economy grew um by 8.4. And how much percentage of your economy is the IT, right? The startups, the startup or technology based. Now I would have loved to see that percentage. How much of your economy is driven by technology dry how many percent of your economy is driven by how many percent of the economy is driven by IT or technology per se? I would love to see that figure, right? I would love to see that kind of figure. So the symbols, again, you have the symbol keyword, and you pass in any string as identification whenever you're trying to declare your symbols. But I'm going to explain later to you when we go deep into the lesson, right, what symbols are used for and how we can really get the best out of symbols right there. So symbols are very powerful. For those of us that are familiar to or that are going to be on the stream tomorrow I'm going to be talking about React uses symbol heavily. React uses symbol heavily. So every of the major React components that you're creating, they are a type of a symbol. React uses symbol inside of it. And I'm going to be breaking this. I'm going to be talking about this tomorrow on the stream, same time, right, where I'm going to be introducing you to React. So the service sector is around over 50% of India's GDP. That is massive, right? That's freaking massive. So here we also have the last thing I'm going to be talking about on this section is how do you dictate the type of what? Dictate the type of a variable. So I can say that what console.log the type of person, and it is telling me that well the type of person is an object. I can say what is the type of ID, and it's able to tell me that well the type of ID is a symbol. Oh, what is the type of what? Name. Yes, the type of name is a string. You can look at that. That's very beautiful. It can tell me that the type of age is what? Number. It can tell me the type of what? Big is what? Big int. So with the type of keyword, it can be used in two different ways. You can use it in this way, or you can use it the other way around. You can use it in the other way around, which is what? You can use it as a function, or you can just use it as what? Just like just like a a property here. In this way, you're calling it as a function. It does the same thing and it returns the same thing right here. So the type of tells us the type of the variable that we sort of like have. We have another interesting thing in JavaScript. I'm going to switch into the browser to just quickly talk about this. Tomorrow is your exam. What kind of exam are you, or what school are you? Which school? Which school are you in? Is it a school of engineering, or is it a programming class that I can help you with? So we have interaction in JavaScript, and the interaction, it is history. I am intent. What? Really? Oh my god. I'm so happy to have you on this stream. You should be reading for your exams anyways. You should be reading for your exams. Okay. Or you already know what you're going to do in the exam tomorrow. All right. So here we have some things called interaction, right? In the browser. Interactions only work in a browser. What is interaction? Interactions are a way for your user to interact with your page. So here you can see this display of this hello. So this alert is accepting this string here, hello. Wow. How come you're on the stream? How come you are an Android developer at this stage? You must have learned a lot on your own. How did you learn Android development? How did you learn Android development? I'm curious to know. So under our JavaScript interactions, you have the alert, you have the prompt. Okay, you started writing Java at 12. Okay. I hope you are enjoying this stream. So what is going on here now is that what? There is the prompt, and the prompt allows us, it asks a question and it's waiting for a response. It's waiting for a response. So you can always type something in the response, and whatever you type here will be returned back to your user. All right. So the first one is alert. The second one is prompt. Prompt prompts your user, and I think the prompt can also take a default. It can take a default. I think you can pass a default here. You can see default. So this is what you can see, that what the default is inside of this text box by default here, and you're able to what to display that result. So you can always use what your alert, your prompt, and the last one is what we call what confirm. Confirm. These really are handy. So we have confirm you are learning from the live stream. So here, the confirm takes a message, right? It takes a string and it outputs this string here, and it gives us what? A yes or no, right? A confirmation. So if you pick the okay, it returns true. If you pick what the cancel, it returns false. And this is what happens with your confirmation right there. So your confirmation, their interaction. Now, I quickly want to switch to Node.js a little bit. Inside of the Node.js, we can also use what? We cannot use alert. You can see that if I try to use alert here, it's going to complain. It's going to tell me what? Alert is not defined. Alert is not defined. However, if you exit and come to your Dino, right? Dino is just something that takes your TypeScript or JavaScript by default, right? So you have what? You can do what? You can do alert here, and you can do hello world, And you can see that what it is working in Dino, but it is not working in Node, right? Because Dino tries as much as possible to make what to support the web. Anything that is supported on the web, Dinos try to support that whole same thing right there. So that's why your alert is working on what is working inside of your Dino right there. If you're just hearing Dino for the first time, you can search for Dino. Dino allows you to it's a kind of JavaScript that is TypeScript first. They have their whole new package management system called JSR that was just released, I think, last week. And yeah, Dino is really beautiful. So everything I just talked about, which from the alert, the prompt, right here, you have it here as well. You have it here as well, and the confirm as well. You have the confirm as well inside of your what, inside of your what, of your Dino. So you can confirm, and it's asking you, do you want to confirm yes or no? So you can do yes, returns true. If you confirm with no, it returns false. And this is the beautiful thing that what your JavaScript interactions make available for us right there to use. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about, right? The last thing that I'm going to be talking about, yeah, just today is type conversions. Type conversions, right? How can we convert from one type to the other, right? How can we convert from one type to the other? Yeah, JavaScript is really cool. And that's why we're trying to learn it to teach as many persons who want to really learn, right, as much as possible. So here you can what convert from what from one type to another. So two major ways that are popular ways of converting, right? The major ways of converting is what you when you have a number like this, I can convert it to string, right? By using what the string constructor, right? This uses what something I call what the string constructor constructor, right? Thank you so much for the compliment. Femi, good to see you as well. Right, this is what using the string constructor to convert something that is of what type number. How do we know that this is type number? So you can console.log, right? Console.log the what the type of num, right? And it tells us that what the type of num is what number. And if you go back down here and you ask for what the str version now, you can see that what the type has changed successfully from number to string. And that is a major way to convert something from what ordinary number to a string using what the string constructor. The second way to do this is with something we call to string. So you can always do something called what to string. And so yes, I understand that in Android development a lot has changed, a lot is changing. So where is to string coming from here? So you can do what the real number dot to string, and this has changed what this number from ordinary number down to what to a string. So the two things that you use here is what you use the string constructor and what the to string method. We use the string constructor and the toString method to what to convert something from numbers to string, to convert something from numbers down to string. So if we want to convert from string to number, if we want to convert something that is a string, right, string to number, so what do we need? We have what we have like three things to use here. We have the pass int, we have we have the pass int, we have the pass which other one do we have again? Somebody can help me if you know them. We have the pass int, the pass float, and we have the number constructor. All right, you have the pass int, the pass float, and the number constructor. So they all do the same thing. They help us to what I think they are four. I'm still going to talk about the fourth one. So we have the pass float, the pass float, and we have what? Which other one? We have the number constructor. The number constructor. The number constructor helps us to what? Number constructor helps us to what? Convert something that is a string back to a number. Something that is a string, it helps us to convert it to a number. Something that is a string, it helps us to convert it to a number. And that is that between what? The last one is what? We use what? The plus sign. The unary what? The unary what? Unary plus sign. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful trick that we can always use. Very beautiful trick, right? So you can just put what? You can just put the plus sign beside, you can put the plus sign beside anything there, and it's sort of just convert it into a number back for you. And that is the unary word, the unary plus sign. It helps us with conversion right there. And we have, I've talked about the string conversions, I've talked about the number conversions. The last one I want to talk about is the Boolean conversion, right? The Boolean conversion. The Boolean conversion. So with the Boolean conversion, what happens is what you have what the Boolean constructor can help you to convert something to what, right? It helps you to convert, right? And it can also convert your true, right, down to what? Also, we have some interesting things that I should also quickly mention. In JavaScript, we have falsy values, right? In JavaScript, we have falsy values. So the false, zero, empty string, null, undefined, NaN, they are what? Falsy values. What do we mean by falsy values? These values are just by default false. So if you try to convert this value, right, they will always give you what? False. But the rest of every numbers, the rest of them, anything, other values that you have. So if you do Boolean, let's do a console.log of any number, and you try to convert it, you see that what? That result is what? Is true. That is, anything else outside of these falsy values will always return true. And if you convert all these ones here that are falsy values, they will always give you false. But anything else will always be what? True. And so in JavaScript, we have what? The truthy values, and we have what? The falsy values. We have the truthy values and the falsy values. So, I mean, this is where I'm going to be bringing the whole stream this night to a close, right? It's been like crazy 2 hours of teaching JavaScript, right? Just basic stuff, right? If you want to watch it again, you can rewatch the stream one more time just to really understand what is going on, right? We're trying to, break down the JavaScript basics. We talked about, we started with what? What did we start with again? We started with what? Hello world, right? We talked about, uh we talked about the code structure. We talked about, use strict, the modern use strict. We talked about variable declarations. We talked about data types. We talked about, interactions with your alert, your prompt, and the confirm. And I talked a little bit about type conversions, and that's where I sort of like stopped today's class. And if you have questions, I can always, take questions in the next stream. The next stream would be, next JavaScript stream is going to be on Friday, the next Friday, where I'm going to be taking the JavaScript fundamentals forward. I'm also going to be talking about, mathematical operations, comparisons, the if statements, the logical operators, and, the null coalescing operators, right? I'm going to talk about all those things in the next stream, right? From my heart of heart, I really appreciate you guys for joining. And, it's been amazing 2 hours of, trying to break down JavaScript to you guys. I don't know if anybody has any question before I stop or bring the stream to a close. If you have any question, I can entertain and take some questions before we bring the stream to a close. If you have any question, I can take any question. I can take any question. If you have any question, I can really take them. But in case you don't have, right, I just want to thank you guys for joining the stream, right? This is my way of saying thank you, right, for joining the stream. And, for everybody from whatever part of the world you're joining, this is me saying thank you, right? You can tell your friends about the stream. If you know people who want and need all these things, you can tell them to join and to learn. We're just going to be teaching. However, if they need a boot camp, right, they can check out Art School Africa, right? That's the place where I teach. I teach into deeper details there, right? And we make people who are going to become the next front end and back end engineers, the next generation of solid engineers that the world is going to see. Is documentation important before learning? Well, I think you know me now, Femi, for a while now. We've been friends for a while, and you know that when I talk, I speak a lot about JavaScript.info, right? I talk a lot about JavaScript.info, and you know, there's no way I would have learned all these things without JavaScript.info. And there's no way I would have, learned all of these things. Okay, we have somebody on Twitch, and the person is saying, "Can we learn something other than JavaScript, please?" Yeah, man. Spark, right? We are tomorrow. I'm going to be streaming about React and Next.js. If you're interested, or are you talking about something like Rust? You want us to learn something like Rust or something like Ashkel, or what do you have in mind? You just tell me what you have in mind. You know. So Femi, as I was answering, that is not coding. Wow. Like maybe we should play games or we should build something. I mean, just tell me. Right now, I'm not sure whether I can learn something that is not coding, right? Or what are the things that are not coding that we can do? I mean, suggestion. Coding is kind of boring, brother. I'm sorry. Oh my god. You're really? You say coding is boring? Coding is not boring. I can make it interesting for you. That's why I'm here. So learning, getting the right materials before you start learning is very, very important. And the documentation is the only true source of information that that can give us the right information. So, Femi, I don't think we can really learn a lot without that documentation thing, right? The documentation for JavaScript, the documentation is the ECMAScript specification, the ECMAScript 262. That is the document that specifies, right, all the full detail about JavaScript. So if you want to be crazy about JavaScript, if you want to become like mad on JavaScript, firing on all cylinders, right, you need to really glance into that ECMAScript documentation, that specification, and go in on it. Now, if you want to really just stay within your comfort zone, javascript.info is a document that I preach a lot about. And you can check MDN, Mozilla Developer Network, is another documentation of JavaScript, right? That is very important. So I hope that answers your question right there. I mean, I can bring today's stream to a close, right? I think Spark, don't worry. If you keep joining the stream, Spark, and join me, you can really love JavaScript. Just join me on the stream. I'm just here to help people to love JavaScript. That's what I preach about. Does Microsoft develop JS and TS? Well, Microsoft does not control JS, but it controls TS. So Microsoft is the team. I mean, the team that controls TypeScript is a team led by Anders Ellsberg. That's the creator of C Sharp. Is the guy behind TS, right? And it's Microsoft controlled. But the team that controls JS is called ECMAScript, the TC39. That is the team that determines what goes on in JavaScript land. So if you want to know more about them, you can search for TC39. That is the team that sort of control what goes on with with JavaScript. They determine, and what comprises of TC39 is a group of different engineers and the community of people like me and you that decides what happened to the language. So JavaScript is more controlled by the community of people who write JavaScript. So if you want to play a part in determining what happens to the future of JavaScript, you want to start contributing to JS right there. They own a lot of tools. They literally own the whole ecosystem. That's the world that we live in right there. So I have to stop the stream now because I've gone too much. Right, I have some other stuff to attend to run to. But for everybody that is joining, thank you so much that joined today. Right, I really appreciate. I mean, this is the first time I'm having like 100 persons on this stream. Right, you can tell your friends. Fridays and Saturdays. Fridays, I'm going to be talking about JavaScript. Saturdays, I'm going to be talking about React. And that's what we do. We are all going to be building projects, real life examples that we can learn from. Thank you for joining. Have a wonderful weekend and bye for now.